The world seems upside down. The term organic is not only a lie, but now we've learned it's always been a lie. No one is stepping up to stop the crimes, the medical murders, the poisoning of our country by our own government. But this is an information war, and it works both ways. They can control the information quite a bit, but you can neutralize much of it, much of the corruption, and keep it from falling onto you with the right information. This is the Dr.Jane Ruby Show, and you're about to enter Truth in Medicine. Welcome to the Dr. Jane Ruby Show on this Monday, June 9th, 2025. And a special shout out to my title partners over at Augusta Precious Metals. You know, gold and silver have stood the test of time. Throughout human history, they've been used to store wealth and protect it. In recent decades, gold and silver have been the best hedge against the market turmoil that robs Americans of their hard-earned retirement. But getting into the wrong gold IRA can be worse than doing nothing at all, which is why I want to highly recommend Augusta Precious Metals, because their policies protect their customers in ways that no other gold IRA company can offer. Their agents do not work on commissions, so they work on behalf of you, the customer, in your long-term success. You know, commissioned sales agents at other gold IRA companies will steer their customers into purchases and situations with the highest commissions. Augusta is about protecting your retirement. Well, while Rome, I mean Los Angeles, is burning in a staged and I believe paid for Antifa-style riot mania, all designed to get the rest of the country fired up to beg for more of our tech bro-led government's digital prison project, which we'll talk about later in the show. A lot of other things are happening on the medical front that I think you need to know. I'm going to cover Kennedy's latest deceptive moves tonight. We're going to take a look at his serious conflicts of interest that are blatant and stunning. And we'll take a closer look at how Bill Gates just pulled the rug out from under the organic labeling in the United States. You know, about 5 years ago, I had a close relative who worked for a large feed, seed, and agricultural company who tried to warn me that the entire organic labeling system was a fraud. At the time, I struggled to wrap my head around that because it basically came down to definition. Is it just not spraying the plants while they're growing, those plants that end up in the final product? Or is it along the way in a multi-layer chronological process where things can go wrong? It seems the latter is likely true. But the bottom line is that the organic label has been hijacked. And like everything else we are learning in the last few years, it's always been a lie. But recently, Bill Gates and his companies pulled a major stunt that really sealed the deal, literally slipping in serious, dangerous chemicals and poisons under the organic label. After paying to have the definition and the requirements to be called organic changed to get this poisonous chemical group under that label. Now, you also might recall about 2 years ago, I was one of the first people to warn you about a dangerous specific chemical tied to Gates called apeel, a supposed vegetable wax-like coating sprayed over citrus products and tomatoes and avocados and things like that. Millions of people saw that post and started to question not just big box stores like Kroger, Publix, but also stores that they had previously depended upon for clean food, safe food, like Whole Foods, Fresh Foods, Trader Joe's, Sprouts. But once the public became enraged and involved, the labeling for apeel, that little sticker with that little drawing of that apple, went underground, so to speak. All of a sudden, produce managers had no idea what we were talking about. The labels disappeared. It used to be where some of them would be labeled with apeel and some of them were not. Now nothing is labeled with it. They started leaving them off to get people to stop thinking about it and falsely reassure them. It seems that the MO for crime, whether it's our legislators, commercial corporations, is to just try to get you to stop thinking about it, or that to get you to think that something's being done when it isn't. Well, Bill Gates just got apeel, a petroleum-based poisonous byproduct of distilling glycerides, snuck under the organic label, and he did it technically legally. You can review my past shows and social media posts for more detailed information on this dangerous cancer-causing product, which, by the way, no, cannot be washed off, cannot be rinsed off, or scraped off, or scrubbed off, and it does penetrate the fruit. It's now known under, I want you to know, the trade name Organapeel, to make it sound like it's organic, whatever that means now. But the truth of the matter is the U.S. EPA has registered the product as a pesticide under the Federal Insecticide, Fungicide, and Rodenticide Act. Wow, take a look at this. Now, the active ingredient on the documentation for apeel and the companies that are churning it out is supposedly citric acid. Another somewhat benign sounding compound that's actually quite damaging and dangerous, especially over time. I did a show, you might recall, with Jonah Bolt from the Quantum Collective several months ago, specifically on citric acid that's found very often in your popular sports drinks, flavored seltzer waters, of which I used to be a huge fan, even probiotic kombucha drinks that had the common element of citric acid added. Now, many of these dangerous substances are byproducts of other industries, which is actually, if it sounds familiar, the same backstory as the Rockefeller medicine men who took their petroleum distillation waste products from processing crude oil and turned them into bases for pharmaceutical drugs. Well, apeel manufacturing companies admitted, and it's all in the public domain in documentation, that they use dangerous solvents like ethyl acetate and heptane in their distillation processes. And they admitted that they left behind in this process on your apeel that's sprayed onto your fruits and vegetables, trace amounts, nevertheless, of dangerous heavy metals like arsenic, lead, mercury, palladium, cadmium in their final products that are sprayed on the fruits. You are once again warned to avoid products with citric acid. It's not necessary, and you'll find many parallel type products that do not contain citric acid. But let me show you this. In the apeel registration documentation, now called Organapeel, with a trademark, you will see citric acid listed under the active ingredients at less than 1%. But the other 99% of the active ingredients is not disclosed, just like the COVID shots. Wow, you leave out 99% of the active ingredient? Well, take a look at this incredible presentation of what has just happened with this Bill Gates move. This is essentially an extension of bastardizing what's in the natural world in order to claim dominion over it and then control it while at the same time poisoning us. And remember, RFK is running around doing selfie parties with Dr. Oz, Marty Makary, and Bhattacharya, not only pretending to be doing something, but actually continuing the approval of more mRNA shots, more poisonous materials in our food, while he runs pure theater around protecting you from Fruit Loops. Take a look at this.
They told you it was organic, that it came from the earth, untouched, unspoiled, sacred. But behind the label, they inverted everything. A coating, chemical and silent, lay like a shroud over your food. Backed by Bill Gates, registered not as a coating, but as a fungicide, a dark loophole, a whispered spell. They say the active ingredient is citric acid, just 0.66%. But what about the rest? The 99.34% they won't name. The hidden part, that's where the ritual lies. Arsenic, cadmium, palladium, ancient metals of death and transformation. The organic label, once a symbol of purity, now used as a mask. They defile the natural order and call it progress. This is inversion, not just of food, but of truth. A Luciferian dominion, the idea that control over nature means control over humanity itself. Nature re-engineered, the soil overwritten. They desecrate what was sacred, then sell it back to you coated and controlled. And while you bite into the shiny avocado, waxy, wrong, too perfect, you've already taken the sacrament, not of health, but of submission.
Very concerning, isn't it? Okay, let's get to Kennedy's activities and accomplishments in his first 100 days. Let's take a look at this list that I put together recently on my social media. What do you have to show for supporting the appointment of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as the U.S. Health and Human Services Secretary? Well, you got the three amigos out there working hard every day, but they're having fun. Here's what you got. Number 1, a brand new mRNA poison shot called mNextSpike for Moderna. Isn't that nice? Number 2, a second brand new mRNA poison shot, fast-tracked, by the way, for the bird flu that doesn't even seem to exist, unless you get pink eye and use a PCR test for a false positive. Number 3, you also got a new FDA-approved set of fake mutations called variants, upon which pharma companies can now make more and more biological weapons out of the mRNA for things like seasonal flu shots and more COVID shot subvariants. Number 4, you also got 2 new live disease measles shots, mumps, rubella, live organism, I said, which is actually causing measles outbreaks all over the country, from a guy who said just 8 months ago that he would never take a measles shot or give that to his children anymore. And then now he's pushing it. Number 6, you got no arrest at the FDA. Nobody from Operation Warp Speed has been called out. No criminal referrals or discussion about Fauci's atrocities, about which, by the way, if you remember, Kennedy wrote a 3-inch thick book. And no arrest of Gates, Peter Daszak of EcoHealth Alliance, or that scumbag gain-of-function scumbag, Ralph Barrick from the University of Chapel Hill. University of North Carolina, rather, at Chapel Hill. But I'll tell you what you did get. You got a childhood immunization schedule that actually increased from 72 to 94 shots by age 18. You got a fake MAGA AI-created propaganda report out of the White House that said nothing about removing mRNA shots from our country because they're too busy doing other important things, even though you are all out there legitimately screaming for it to be removed. He knows. He hears you. And of course, as I mentioned previously, you got clean Fruit Loops. But Kennedy's crimes, by omission and commission, run much deeper. Kennedy's not only a fraud, but he's also a criminal and a grifter who's actually, underneath all of it, shilling for pharma. And not just any pharma, but the pharma that makes the mRNA products, especially the complementary products like CRISPR-Cas9 technology that cuts open your cells so the synthetic poisonous mRNA can get in there and attach on and cut out your natural RNA and impose its own on that, which directs them to make the foreign synthetic foreign dangerous proteins you call the spike protein. And just days after I talked about that deception, Kennedy starts running public dog and pony shows of cheerful little multi-agency discussions on how wonderful gene therapy is. Oh yes, he's right there in lockstep with President Trump to bring more mRNA, the self-amplifying, more dangerous versions, and a lot more of it into your life. It is 100% clear to me now, more than ever, that Robert Kennedy caved, not only in order to get the job, so that he could be one of the most powerful secretaries in the administration, but because he stands to probably make during his tenure, if he lasts the whole, Trump second term, stands to make probably about $1 billion in his pharmaceutical stock, kickbacks, and other hidden perks, because he's so blatantly supporting them. Their agenda, every company, the childhood schedule has not been touched, at your expense. At your expense. At my expense. At everyone's expense. See, Kennedy's using his position at HHS now to promote gene editing therapy, which is mRNA COVID-like, mRNA in the seasonal flu shot, in the RSV shot, in anything, in your anything, as well as at the same time, rather, while making money on his investment in gene editing companies. Take a look. And this has been disclosed many times, including 8-9 months ago when he was running for president. And what about Children's Health Defense? I have some questions as I watch them. This is an organization that Kennedy supposedly helped to found, or did found, I'm not sure. That organization is sounding more and more to me, if I'm hearing them correctly, like a controlled opposition. I know we throw that word around a lot, but remember, the definition of a controlled opposition is someone or a group of people that gives you mostly good information that kind of aligns with what other good information is that you're hearing and getting, but then weaves in every once in a while a little confusing narrative in there, maybe 10-20% of propaganda that doesn't quite make sense with the other 80%. So in a reinterpretation, a modern day interpretation of Matthew 17, you'll know them by their fruits, is, do you really want to know who's good and honest in this movement? The fruit.
Looks like you've been sleeping well.
Megan, he's back. The My Pillow guy.
And you're looking good.
Still feeling good.
Well, just when you thought it couldn't get any better, we've got the best pillow ever, My Pillow 2.0. When I invented My Pillow, it had everything you'd ever want in a pillow. Well, now there's new technology that makes it even better. My Pillow 2.0 has my patented fill combined with a cooling fabric with temperature regulating thread. My Pillow 2.0 is truly the next generation of My Pillow.
Now's the time to go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use the promo code to save 50% on your My Pillow 2.0.
You're sleeping even better.
And cooler, too.
And you're looking good.
Feeling good.
I knew you would.
mypillow.com.
Is, do you really want to know who's good and honest in this movement? The fruits are, look for consistency of messaging. Look for the absence of big corporate backing, because that always comes with an expected trade. Look for someone, yes, like me, who's never wavered on message, who's never equivocated on message. I'm not a sort of kind of girl. It's don't take those shots. None of those shots are good for anybody. Don't give them to our military. Don't give them to children, babies. It's not a vaccine. It's a bioweapon. It's a military operation. And now, a lot of these frontline darlings out there, you know who they are. I don't have to say their names. They're coming out just now to talk about things that some of us were warning you about 4 years ago, 5 years ago. You see the up and down? You don't see the consistency. You might say, well, I'm glad they're talking about it now, Dr. Jane. But how many people died for the last few years while they waited to come out with the truth? How many babies died? How many pregnant women miscarried? It just looks to me like organizations like Children's Health Defense is kind of running scared. They're jockeying on the fence. You really watch them day to day. They're trying to maintain their base. Got to keep those donations coming in. But without coming right out and totally disagreeing with or abandoning Kennedy. And it must be really difficult for them. I mean, I do have a little sympathy because they're watching him flip 180, deceive the American public, flip on everything he stood for with Children's Health Defense. They're gurgling in their own blood. They're just hanging on in some instances. Ironically, Kennedy, abandoned Children's Health Defense in terms of values and messaging. If they continue down this road, though, I predict if they keep jockeying, people are going to just get tired of it, and I predict they'll implode. Because the truth of the matter is people are tired of this shit. They're tired of being lied to. They're tired of being jockeyed and jerked around with various, messaging. The kind of changes. They get tired of getting confused. Like, what? Didn't they say something? What's the truth? You see, the bottom line is there's no way Kennedy, I hope you know by now, there's no way Kennedy's going to stop anything. In fact, if you're really honest with yourself, you'll be able to see that he's actually increasing everything you wanted him to stop. He's expanding everything you wanted him to stop. He's increasing the poisons. He's increasing the technology, the dangerous technology on every front. Remember, while he talks about bringing, science back, scientific studies, doing better studies, and improving the FDA process, some of you are taking that crumb when you know damn well these agencies should have been destroyed the minute he walked in. Dismantled, everybody fired, start clean, suspend everything, and rebuild them in a different way with citizen oversight, citizen experts. But at the same time, while he's talking about doing these better studies and being better and giving you a better FDA, his FDA is approving fast-tracking a more dangerous version of mRNA, right? And he's not talking about doing what should have been done in the beginning with the mRNA, because that would shut it all down. And you have President Trump bringing in Stargate with Larry Ellison, and you've got companies like Arcturus getting fast-tracked for their self-replicating mRNA, right, for the bird flu, and their nanoparticle delivery system, which is going to be new according to them, because not enough people died from the LNP in the COVID shots. But they've got a program and a system that actually, they're bragging, delivers it into the cell for what they call, and this is their words, and I want you to listen very carefully. Arcturus Pharmaceuticals says they're proud of their technology. They've been fast-tracked for mRNA bird flu because what their product does, they call it sustained protein expression. Let me stop there for a minute. I'm in the middle of their quote. Sustained protein expression. They're talking about the spike protein. Quote, sustained protein expression compared to non-self-replicating RNA-based vaccines. And they go on to say, end of quote, by the way, and they go on to say, potentially enabling them to produce these vaccines more quickly and simply. That's a ruse. That's a ruse. What do you need them faster for? What do you need so much more of it for? You see people dropping in the streets from bird flu? I haven't even seen anybody with pink eye for about a year. which has nothing to do with bird flu. But it's a ruse. It's, if you'll pardon the double metaphor, it's putting the synthetic mRNA in the first run for COVID in the last 3 or 4 years on steroids. You're going to make those foreign proteins that are right now killing people, making them sick and disabled. You're going to make them in greater amounts and faster. I'll tell you what's going to be faster. Is murdering people, is people dropping dead from heart attacks and strokes and neurological damage that they're not going to be able to survive. Because no one's asking, Bobby, with this new good research that's going to restore your faith and trust in an agency that just tried to kill you for the last 5 years. But no one's asking, Bobby, where's the research to show how you turn this off? Are you going to include that, a requirement for that? How do you stop it if the person has side effects? How do you slow it down if you want to adjust it? Once you inject it, it's in. And self-amplifying means if you inject 1 milligram, it just kind of on its own becomes like 5 milligrams or whatever. They don't even tell you because they don't even know. They're just injecting poison. That's all they're doing. They don't have to know. How do you turn it off? Do you know? How do you slow it down? How do you stop it? How do you take it out of somebody's body? FDA put out a guidance document a few years ago and said, hey, the only way we see that you'll be able, and you need a lot of research in this to make sure it's safe, but the only way we see of stopping it or slowing it down is sending another one in there with different instructions. Oh, okay, we're going to take an unrefined, dangerous technology that's killing people, and we're going to make another one and send that one in to stop it. Okay. Use your common sense. And while many of you do know by now that Vice President J.D. Vance and that other scumbag, Vivek Ramaswamy, who's trying to take over Ohio, are up to their ears in self-replicating mRNA producing factories, nobody's calling them out. Nobody's allowed to ask about it in mainstream media. Peter Doocy, whose dad got him the job from Fox News, sits in the front row now. Talk about nepotism. Peter Doocy, how come you're not asking J.D. Vance in your press conferences with the vice president how he reconciles owning Amplify Bio and a bunch of other companies that are making millions on producing and manufacturing this dangerous self-replicating mRNA? Where's that question, Peter? And Kennedy's quiet. He knows. Trust me, if we know out here, he knows. And he's quiet because Kennedy is really one long episode of selling out the American people. The organic hijacked story is but one arm of the fraud of this Health and Human Services Agency, which is the umbrella agency, remember, for the FDA, the CDC, the NIH, and the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare, and so many more agencies and departments. It's a money transfer program. The whole thing, not just vaccines, but that's the huge part of it. It's all a money transfer program. The curtain, my friends, has been pulled. And you can clearly see now what's behind it. It's lies and fraud designed to keep you sick. But they're doing something much more diabolical with a synthetic mRNA, besides just keeping you sick and ginning up more pharmaceutical customers, like the results of the Rockefeller medicine men. They're driving this material. They're driving it and driving it and driving it to get more and more of it into human beings and animals and plants as fast as they can. LA is burning again tonight, but even the situation in LA, which is this bought and paid for Antifa like attack, it comes every few years, right? Occupy, Antifa. It's just another symptom of this sick, corrupted, pus-oozing behemoth called the federal government we allowed to get out of control, right? Now they've got all kinds of, I think LA is already a smart city in many ways. I think it has much of the technology already there. It's going to, they're just, sucking in the people with it. They've got, what is it, Waymo it's called or something like that? That is the driverless, like it's sort of an Uber-ish driverless. Yeah, I'll get into that. Give me a break. Remotely flip that thing, try to kill somebody. For starters. Really? But there's so much smart city infrastructure already embedded in LA. You can see it. You can see it in these riots. And then the dog. The robotic dog. Creepy. Looks like it's loaded with all kinds of biosurveillance, facial recognition. It could be loaded with biological weapons, shoot out a little stream of, tear gas at the very least. Maybe anthrax. You want to knock out a crowd of 1,000 people right in front of you? Yeah. Maybe it's got general ammunition or flamethrower. I don't know. Take a look at this though. This was really funny. Got to lighten up a little bit. Even Dr. Jane has to lighten up a little bit. Take a look at this. It's 2029 and barbecue grills have been outlawed. Here's what I'm doing. This was priceless. I love this. This was great. There are also ways to disable and protect yourself from the 5G. So I'll let you guys find that on your own. But there is, you ask for solutions and hope. Those kinds of things are out there. Anyway, that was just the point I wanted to make. I want you to all take this all very seriously. This is all connected. It's all connected. I want to mention before I close out the show that Scott Schara, in this, first of its kind, unprecedented trial against Ascension Health and St. Elizabeth's Hospital in Wisconsin, that he watched his daughter being murdered with drugs and rough treatment. They're in their second week now of the trial, and I will have some information later this week, a little bit of a summary as part of, the Dr. Jane Ruby show. So I wanted to mention that and ask you again all to join me in praying for Scott and Cindy Schara and Jessica, their other daughter, for justice, for God's love, for peace of mind, and that there's a successful, for them, outcome in the memory of their beautiful daughter, Grace. So I wanted to mention that. And I'm going to do a show later this week. I'm going to put to rest the fake anti-chemtrail groups, the fake legislators in every state that's putting together, anti-chemtrail state ban. Yes, part of Title 50 was repealed, but not the exceptions. And in fact, the Title 50, 1520, subsections 1520 and 1521, those were written as restrictions. So if you repeal it, then there are no restrictions. I mean, these people they're so desperate to hang on to those legislators in each of their states, including mine in Florida. Sycophants, because they don't want to face the truth that there's more work to do to stop this. Otherwise, they stop getting their donations. They've all blocked me. They've all shunned me. They've all disparaged me. Some have defamed me in social media. Wow, that should tell you a lot. Instead of being grateful that I'm using the platform God's given me to get the word out bigger than they could right now, they're defaming me, they're blocking me, they're keeping me from getting into their Twitter spaces to educate and help people. Wow. That should say a lot to you. So I will be doing a show. Really good news. I did some work, asked Catherine Watt from Bailiwick News on Substack to help me out, and she actually found additional laws, even if they wiped out the whole title of 15 or the subsections 1520 and 1521. There's so many other codes that the federal government can stand on, and these legislators know it. It's their job to know it. They know they're duping the American public. And now these anti-chemtrail organizations, I don't say all, but I say most, they will have nowhere to hide because they think they got a gotcha. You know, it was repealed, so she's lying. No, part of it was repealed, but not all of it. And there's so many other laws that you don't think they'd give themselves one loophole. This is bad. This is the military. It's national and international. And it's basically a UN to the DOD, and the HHS looks the other way. There you go. What I want to share with you, what I want you to think about, what gives me the courage to keep going with this just a little bit longer, is prepare yourselves. Prepare yourselves to shield yourselves as best as possible from needing anything on their grid. Keeping yourself healthy, keeping yourself strong. Have plans with your neighbors, your family. If this happens, we're going to do that. Have a plan to communicate if things go dark. Because my elephant in the room is getting fatter and fatter and fatter. And it's going to continue to do so, no matter how much you try to look away.